Today I have the ArmyTek Elf C2 headlamp for review. Thanks to ArmyTek for sending out one of their new 2017 products. When I first got my hands on the Elf C2, my first thought was, this looks a lot like my Wizard Pro V3 that I reviewed a few months ago. And here's the Wizard on top. So what's different between the two? The main things are the UI of the Elf, how it charges, the light output, and the physical size. So let's go over physical size here first, just to compare the two quickly. And they're both magnetic, so they don't want to behave very nicely here. But the Elf is just slightly longer than the Wizard. Other than that, their sizes and dimensions are very similar. So let's grab a quick weight on both here. And the Elf C2 comes in with clip and battery at 119 grams. And the Wizard comes in at 118.1 grams. So again, very, very similar. So the charging system on these two flashlights are different. Instead of magnetic charging like my Wizard has on the bottom, the Elf C2 uses microUSB here on the side. This is what I suspect makes the Elf C2 just a little bit taller, is that extra charging circuitry. And the funny thing I thought was that no USB cable was included, which I thought is odd for a light whose new feature is being rechargeable via microUSB. Charging is a little bit on the slow side when I measured it at 0.51 amps on a mostly empty battery. This light will charge any flat top 18650 that fits into the light. There's no proprietary cells needed, and that's a really nice thing. I do wish they'd went with USB-C though, instead of micro-USB, because it is the new thing. It's the new standard, but I'm guessing that they did this because micro-USB is so common and maybe USB-C costs a little bit more. It is nice that ArmyTek includes a 3200 milliamp hour flat top battery. ArmyTek didn't have an IPX rating that I could find on their website, but it did say it's good for 10 meters of water, which is typically IPX8. I've dunked this and sat this in water for a few hours and no problems. Both times though were with the cover in place. So here's a quick shot of the light charging, and you can see that button there turns red. One of the neat things about this light is while charging via USB, the light does come on. One of the other neat things about this flashlight is it runs off just USB. So as you can see here, I've got the battery tube open. There's nothing in the battery tube, and it's plugged in via USB with my power bank here. And here it is running. So that's kind of a nice feature. On the C1, which is the shorter model of this, the Elf C1, I think this would be just a little bit more practical, but if you were ever stuck in a situation where you needed light, say a disaster situation, the hurricane recently is something that comes to mind, and you had power banks, but say all your 18650 batteries were used up, you could always power your light this way and make it work. Or if you were using it some type of long-term situation and you had a electrical outlet, you could always do it this way too. While I've got this apart here, here's the battery. You can see it's just the ArmyTek. It is a 3200 milliamp. It is flat top. Good battery. One thing I considered doing there when I was plugged in via USB without a battery is to see how long it'd run on a 20,000 milliamp hour battery. If that's something you'd like to see, leave a note in the comment below, and if I get enough responses, I'll try and get that done. This light uses a Cree XPL LED with the TIR optic, and the TIR optic is what the lens you can see there. It's a glass lens with anti-reflective coating, and you can see it's got a rough pattern on there. That really helps diffuse the light, and in my outdoor shots you'll see that. This is a cooler white variety, and the maximum out the front lumens is 900 on turbo, and ArmyTek says that'll last about 2 hours, but that's heat dependent. In my testing at normal room temperatures, about 77, 78 degrees, it lasted about 6 minutes before it clocked down. And I'll insert a graph here. So this other stats ArmyTek gives is 900 lumens for turbo for 2 hours. Then you bump down into high, which is 340 lumens for 4 hours. Then to 150 lumens for 10.5 hours. 30 lumens for 55 hours. 2.3 lumens for 25 days. And 0.4 lumens for 200 days. And to me, that's a pretty big step down from turbo at 900 lumens to the main 3, which is the next brightest at 340 lumens. I'd like to see a step in between. When I taped my thermocouple on the side of the light and ran it on turbo for 1 minute, my standard test, it got up to 98 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's very acceptable. After 10 minutes of runtime on turbo, which, as I mentioned, it clocked down, it was pretty warm to the touch, but still in a very safe temperature. I measured parasitic drain was at a very low 7.4 microamps. Here's my table shot starting out in Firefly modes, and you can see here's 0.04 lumens, very low, really doesn't even show at all. Bumping up, this is the next Firefly mode. And now you're starting to get into usable light for farther distances. And one more, and then turbo of double click. And here's the beam pattern. And here is the beam pattern. You can see very even, not a very much of a hot center. I think they say about 70 degrees is hot. And that's fairly close. You can see there, just really excellent diffusion. Here's my night shots, and first up is the Elf. And got it on low here. We'll just start cycling through. You can't see those Firefly modes. Once we bump up, you really can. So this is high. Really projects pretty well. There is turbo. You can see super even beam. I've got the camera set real high, but you can really see what a nice job that does. So here is the Wizard, and here is the Elf. And the Elf is on turbo, and the Wizard's just on high. And that's about equivalent lumen outputs, roughly. So again, there's the Elf, and there's the Wizard. So you can see the beam pattern on them is real similar. And I'm going to go walk down here in my yard and show you kind of what it's like on my head. The interface of the Elf C2 is much simpler than the Wizard line. Gone are the multiple mode groups, and instead you basically have 5 modes with shortcuts and memory to get you where you want to go. If it's off, you press and hold the light and it'll cycle through the 5 modes. And it'll start in Firefly when you do that. It will do the same if the light is on. If the light is on, you can also double click to go straight to turbo. The ArmyTek manual is nicely written, so I would definitely recommend studying it when you receive your light to make sure you know how to operate it fully. Because this light has no lockout mode through the UI, ArmyTek recommends unscrewing the tail cap a quarter turn, and I agree. This light also has a low battery notification and thermal warnings via the yellow on-off button. There's a multi-color LED underneath that has a blink code indicator. In the interest of time in this review, consult your manual. It's a nice extra feature to look for, especially in a mid-range light. So I want to talk about the clip and EDCing both these lights. So the Wizard Pro, I EDC'd quite a bit, and I love the clip. And the Elf has the exact same clip, so that's a great thing. However, this is how I like to carry a Wizard in my pocket, or an Elf for that matter. I've got the button here, and I've got the clip exactly opposite the lens. What this allows me to do in my pocket, and I'll just use this instructions here, is here's my pocket. Front left pocket is where I carry a flashlight. My front right is where I carry a knife. What this allows me to do is I have the lens facing out, and I have the button facing in and a little bit more protected. I find this is the best way to not have the light activate if I didn't use the manual lockout. On the Wizard, that works great. However, on the Elf C2, if you do that, rotate the clip to the back here, it covers up the USB port. So every time you want to charge it or anything like that, you've got to rotate the clip, which does, it kind of scratches, it kind of wears the finish down. That's just not ideal in my opinion. I'd prefer it if they actually put the charging port on the side where I've got the clip now, so I could carry it like this. Or really underneath the button, I think would work pretty well, because that's an area that's somewhat protected and it's just not going to interfere there, I don't think. So that'd be my recommendation, is ArmyTek move the charging port. Having the charging port on the back also means that if you want to clip this onto a backpack, which is kind of in the position that I orientate my light when I carry it, it means you can't have it on that nice mode where you're either charging it or you're powering it via power bank. Again, I think just moving that charging USB port to the side is the best course of action for ArmyTek to take. One other difference between the Elf and the Wizard is on the Elf, you can unscrew this back clip and you've got the magnet here. This is really nice to be able to easily remove it. On the Wizard it's removable, but you've got to disassemble the tail cap. So the Elf comes with a lanyard, and to attach it you can undo that pocket clip, put this attached lanyard down, put your magnet back in, and screw everything back together. Very simple job. It's nice and sturdy, although it does rattle a bit. I wish that was a tighter fit. So that'll bug some people about how the lanyard rattles around when it's in this position. But it's a nice option to have available. So here is the box that the Elf C2 comes in. Very similar to the Wizard box that I had. Got some important stats here on the side, which we've already pretty much gone over, and more information on the back. Both ArmyTek lights that I have didn't check which battery it includes. So here's how the light comes packaged in the box. You've got your light, and I've attached the clip already. You've got your carrier for the head mount, and this is a rigid but flexible plastic. Then you've got your head mount and your lanyard and extra O-rings. So here I have the Elf C2 mounted in the Headlight Mount, and pretty standard, just like the Wizard. So if you like the Wizard, you're going to be really happy. It's nice, stretchy, soft material, and it does have a center strap that is removable if you choose. So the pros of this light, in my opinion, are the interface is more simple and easier to navigate. It's got good low lumen options. Light can be powered off the USB charger directly without a battery. It's got a less expensive price for the great ArmyTek build quality and durability that they're known for. There are no proprietary cables or chargers required for recharging or batteries. It includes a battery for the price. And it's available as the Elf C2 with the 18650 battery or the Elf C1 with the 18350 battery. For runtime reasons, the 18650 battery is definitely what you should choose, because you can fit about 3 times more capacity in half the size. My cons are, I would like to see one more mode between the 350 lumens of high and the turbo at 900. Maybe something in the 600 lumen range. The clip location for EDC isn't ideal for charging and carry at the same time. I'd like to see that rotated. The pocket clip here should be removable, should be able to be attached and still be used as a headlamp. You've got to really remove it for it to be a headlamp. And the USB charging is pretty slow at 0.5 amps. And no micro USB cable was included in the package. If you're a subscriber to my reviews, and you should be by now, if not, please subscribe. You know that I think everyone should have a nice headlamp style flashlight in their house or car. The ArmyTek Elf C2 headlamp EDC combination is a more simple mode, less expensive offering from ArmyTek, but still offers some of the features ArmyTek is known best for, like the high quality build, ruggedness, and advanced thermal protections. And in this case, has in-body recharging via USB. The output differences between the Elf C2 and Wizard Pro V3 aren't that noticeable to the eye on turbo, but in the lower modes, you do notice it slightly. The UI does not have as many modes on the Elf C2, and I think that makes it a little bit easier to operate for someone who just wants something simple to use. And I can appreciate them doing that. I do wish the Elf C2 had better mode spacing though. There isn't a ton of price difference at MSRP between the Elf C2 and the Wizard line. The Wizard Pro is about a $30 premium currently for a light with better water and dust protection due to its sealed charging system and a bit better performance. At the lower price point, it's nice to see a high quality battery included too on both lights. It's nice to see ArmyTek bring out a more budget-friendly headlamp and EDC option that shares many of the characteristics the more expensive and well-regarded Wizard line of lights has. I call this a mid-tier rechargeable option, and it should suit most people pretty well. I'd recommend making a few changes as I mentioned in my cons section above. However, that doesn't stop me from recommending this as a good durable option for anyone who's looking for a headlamp or floody EDC at this price range. Please make sure you've liked this video and subscribed to my channel. I have several new reviews coming in the weeks soon.